Right, what's going on guys? Welcome to the video. So there are reports out that the Tories have offered Nigel Farage's Brexit party an alliance or a pact, meaning that they have come to some sort of agreement. Of course, take this with a massive pinch of salt because we don't know if it's actually true. But the Telegraph are reporting on this among others, saying Tories offer Nigel Farage's Brexit party 11th hour pact. The Conservatives have offered an electoral pact to Nigel Farage that would mean the Brexit party targeting just 40 key seats. The Telegraph can disclose. Now, I don't know how truthful this is, and while it's possible, I do think it's quite unlikely. Boris Johnson was prepared to put up paper candidates in the Labour-held constituencies, meaning the Tories would carry out only minimal campaigning in order to give an advantage to the Brexit party. However, the deal was turned down by Mr Farage, who had insisted on the Tories withdrawing their candidates altogether from the seats, because he was worried that the Conservative candidates would still attract votes, which of course is common sense, because they will. Some people will vote for the Conservative Party regardless of anything else. The same way some people will vote for the Labour Party. There's nothing going to change there. Talks finally broke down late on Tuesday, but as the deadline for nominations approaches at 4 PM on Thursday, so 4 PM today, Mr Farage remains under intense pressure to make further concessions beyond the 317 candidates he has already stood down from running in seats won by the Tories in 2017. And no, he shouldn't make further concessions. There should be a mutual agreement at the end of the day. Nigel has made concessions, the Tories have done nothing, so he doesn't need to do anything more. He's already given them a great helping hand when, in a lot of those seats, they don't deserve a helping hand. Namely the seats won by the 21 Tory rebels that cost us Brexit on the 31st of October. The Brexit party should still be contesting them seats. It comes as an exclusive poll shows the Tories are on course for a 110 seat majority as working class voters flock to the Conservatives in a redrawing of the electoral map based on Leave and Remain sentiments. And about 110 seat majority is possible, but polling's a load of bollocks at the end of the day. We'll wait until it gets closer before we can actually gauge. We're still too far out. On Thursday, the election battlegrounds will move on to immigration, with the Tories claiming that Jeremy Corbyn's policies could lead to a threefold increase in net migration to 840,000 a year, a figure disputed by Labour. Of course it's disputed by Labour because it makes them look like a bunch of idiots that are not going to deliver what the Brexit referendum was actually about. Because let's be honest, it's about immigration, among many other things. But immigration was key in many people's minds, especially considering many people out of London voted for this, where immigration affects people a whole lot more for a whole lot less immigrants coming. London is bigger, many more jobs, it can handle an influx of people. A small town or city anywhere else in the country, 1,000 people, 500 people, it struggles with that. How is it finding 500 more jobs? People in these areas generally struggle to find jobs as it is, which is also another reason why you don't want the Labour Party as your government. Labour's campaign descended into chaos on multiple fronts on Wednesday. John McDonnell, the Shadow Chancellor, said health workers would be included in Labour's plans for a 4-day week, leaving its NHS spending plans in doubt, hours after the Shadow Health Secretary said the opposite, which is much like their Brexit stance. One of them says one thing, the other contradicts it and says a completely different. Or they'll campaign against their own deal. You know, that sort of genius level shit. Meanwhile, Corbyn changed his mind 3 times on the timing of when he might grant a second Scottish independence referendum. The Telegraph, you're missing something that happened to Corbyn in Scotland yesterday, which is part of the Scottish independence referendum debate, no doubt. And that was our Scottish friend who decided to go up to Corbyn and ask him where his jihad scarf was, how many terrorists he would invite to Parliament, and whether a terrorist sympathiser should be the Prime Minister. Let's check out that little clip again, just to refresh our memory, and because it's golden.
I explained the origins of it.
I thought you'd be wearing your Islamic jihad scarf.
Well,
You're not invited to the funeral. Do you think the man that's going to be Prime Minister of this country should be a terrorist sympathiser, Mr Corbyn? Who's going to be the first terrorist invited to the House of Commons when you're Prime Minister? He's running away.
So there you see it, guys. It was not a good day yesterday for this Corbynated chicken, and it was a bad week for the Labour Party in general, as I pointed out in my videos yesterday. The article continues, Mr Farage appeared to hint on Wednesday he could vote for the Tories, as the Brexit Party will not have a candidate in the constituency where he lives in Kent. He later appeared to change his mind, tweeting, given the way the Conservative Party have behaved this week, I could not vote for them. Whatever, it's just posturing. Do whatever you gotta do, no one cares. Talk about an electoral pact between the Tories and the Brexit Party were first muted by Mr Farage in September, and by the end of last week he said he wanted the Tories not to stand in 40 Labour-held seats to give the Brexit Party a clear run, which is something we already know. Instead, the Tories came back with their offer to stand paper candidates in those seats and soft-pedal their campaigns in the constituencies by not putting any resources behind them. Mr Farage made it clear he did not trust the Tories to honour the deal and instead made his unilateral decision to withdraw 317 candidates from Tory-held seats, but to fight in 300 others, as we all know once again. Mr Farage said he had offered to stand down in key Tory seats in return for a similar trade-off in the wake of Monday's announcement, before talks broke down on Tuesday. He told the Telegraph, "I would have stood down in lots of key marginals in return for a few on the other side. I would not have even asked for 40 seats. There would have been a guaranteed Leave majority in Parliament, and they refused to do it." Now, if that's true, then that's definitely something that the Tories need to be held to account on. That there goes to show that Nigel is not thinking about his party. Not even asking for 40 seats would have been the case, apparently. Of course, this is all what Farage says. As to whether he meant this or not is a completely different story altogether. But going on what he said, which is all we can ever do, he would have done that for a guaranteed Leave majority. The Tories have apparently refused to do it. So, not good on their part, once again, if what he's saying is true. "It is completely maddening," I said to them. "I can win you the general election now," and they chose not to take that option. Well, saying that there's probably not the best way of going around it, Nigel, to be honest with you. But you are right, you can help them win the general election. It won't be you that wins them, they will have to win it themselves also, but you can make it easier for them, most definitely. The impasse means that Mr Farage is now putting up candidates in key Labour marginals that Mr Johnson has to win to deliver a majority, despite warnings from within the Brexit Party that it could split the Leave vote and help Mr Corbyn into number 10. Mr Farage said on Wednesday that a proper deal could have resulted in a 40-seat majority after polling day. By Wednesday night, 270 of the muted 300 Brexit Party candidates had submitted their nomination papers. On Wednesday night, the Conservatives insisted there had never been any formal talks with the Brexit Party, but multiple sources have told the Telegraph there were twin-track talks behind the scenes. One set was mediated by Andrew Reid, the former UKIP treasurer. Ben Elliott, the Conservative Party chairman, and Dougie Smith, an aide to Mr Johnson, were part of another strand of talks, according to sources. In Coventry, Mr Johnson said it is always a very difficult thing for any party leader to withdraw candidates from an election, and I understand that. But all I can say, for the avoidance of doubt, to repeat my central message, there is only one way to ensure that we get Brexit done, and that is to vote for us and the Conservatives. Well, that's up for debate. I think that would depend on where you are rather than being universally true, Boris. But I understand why you're saying it. This is electioneering at the end of the day. But there it is, they're saying the Tories have offered Nigel an 11th hour pact. But I'm not buying it, especially given by what it says towards the end of that. I think if anything happens now, it's going to be down to Nigel Farage doing it, or the powers that be within the Brexit Party who can influence him doing it as well. Now, I'm going to end the video there, guys. I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon and Subscribe members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
This Parliament is a dead Parliament. It should no longer sit. It has no moral right to sit on these green benches. They don't like the truth. Twice they have been asked to let the electorate decide upon whether they should continue to sit in their seats, while they block 17.4 million people's votes. This Parliament is a disgrace. But they're too cowardly to give it a go. But the time is coming. The time is coming, Mr. Speaker, when even these turkeys won't be able to prevent Christmas.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. and it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.